Have you ever felt that subtle, lingering sense of being maybe off kilter? Not necessarily like in a huge crisis, but just like your internal compass is a bit miscalibrated.
Sure.
A lot of us assume that, finding ourselves needs some dramatic life change or maybe years of deep thought. But today, we're doing a deep dive into insights from a source called 7 Days to Find Yourself Back. And it makes a pretty bold promise, actually. Profound transformation in just 1 week. So our mission here is to uncover how this material suggests can help you realign, and like what deeper principles it might be tapping into to make such a focused approach, well, effective.
Yeah, and what's fascinating, I think, is how it sort of challenges the usual thinking. It suggests that maybe a structured but still really accessible path to self-rediscovery isn't about this monumental effort. It's more about consistent, intentional little steps, micro-interventions, really, designed to build up a kind of momentum of mindfulness.
Okay, yeah, let's unpack that a bit. The core problem this source tackles is incredibly relatable, right? But it's often quite subtly defined. When it talks about having misplaced yourself, well, it seems to go beyond just feeling down for a bit. It's describing a deeper, maybe quieter kind of existential drift, where your actions, your daily life might feel a bit disconnected from your core values or what you really aspire to. And that leads to this quiet but persistent sense of unease. Not necessarily overt distress, but just unease, lack of internal alignment.
Precisely, lack of congruence, exactly.
Yeah.
And the solution it offers, it frames it as a gentle companion. That's the term it uses for the 7 Days to Find Yourself Back guide. So it's not presented as some rigid rule book you have to follow perfectly. It's more like a supportive framework designed to guide you towards clarity, confidence, and that sense of inner peace. And it does that by encouraging a sort of dialogue with your own self, the self that's always evolving.
One really interesting bit highlighted in the source is a quote from a reader. They called it a week-long conversation with your own soul. Practical, comforting, and deeply inspiring. That phrase, conversation with your own soul, it just jumps out, doesn't it? It makes you really curious about the method. How does the source actually make that happen? How does it facilitate such a, profound personal dialogue in just 7 days? And keep it practical and comforting.
That phrase really does capture the essence of the methodology, I think. The approach breaks the whole process down into what it calls simple daily steps, real-life reflections, and heart-touching exercises. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, these aren't just random activities you do. When the source talks about peeling away the noise and rediscovering the person you were always meant to be, it's implicitly touching on something psychologists often call cognitive diffusion. That's basically learning to observe your thoughts and feelings without getting totally swept away or identified by them.
Okay. Cognitive diffusion.
Yeah. And the text sort of details how its exercises work as specific diffusion techniques. They help you identify which layers, maybe it's self-doubt, maybe external pressures, which layers are kind of obscuring your authentic self. So for instance, day 1 might focus on something like mindful presence. It could use short, guided meditations, specific journaling prompts, all designed to just ground you in the here and now. Then day 2 might shift to, say, identifying external noise, using exercises to help you pinpoint which distractions are really pulling you off course.
That makes a lot of sense, actually, because so many of us, and I definitely include myself here, we often wait for that perfect moment, right? That ideal time to hit pause and really reflect. And it sounds like the source frames this 7-day journey as that potential sign, that structured, gentle way to actually make the pause happen. But okay, what if life throws a curveball? Say on day 3, everything goes sideways. Does the source talk about that? Is there a grace period, or does it push for sticking strictly to the schedule?
That's a great question. It really seems to emphasize intentional engagement over, endless searching or waiting for things to be perfect. So while it definitely encourages daily consistency that helps build momentum, the gentle aspect means it focuses more on progress, not perfection. It seems to understand that, life happens. The core promise is really about the decision to start. Start your 7-day journey today and find you again. It implicitly uses what you might call the compound effect, the idea that small, consistent efforts add up over time to create significant results. By breaking self-discovery down into these seemingly simple daily steps, it makes the whole thing feel manageable, digestible. But cumulatively, those steps can be really powerful. It's a concept you see a lot in behavioral science, actually.
Right. Small steps, big impact over time. So, okay, what does this all mean for you listening right now? I think the core insight here is that rediscovering yourself, maybe it doesn't always need some huge, complex overhaul. Maybe it can start with a focused, week-long engagement. using what the Source calls these simple daily steps and some real introspection. It's about creating that intentional space to peel away the noise, like the Source says, and to move towards that renewed sense of clarity, confidence, and inner peace. It really suggests that sometimes the most profound changes, the ones that stick, can begin with just a gentle but structured week of really tuning into yourself.
And that naturally leads to an important question for you to think about. If you are feeling that subtle sensation of being, misplaced, what does it truly mean for you personally to come home to yourself? And maybe consider how a structured yet gentle 7-day approach like this might fundamentally shift your perspective on finding your way back. Rather than, say, just waiting for some big external sign to appear, what if the sign is the decision to start?